Welcome to Liberty Talk Canada. I'm Odessa Orlewicz. Thank you so much for joining us. Apparently, everyone's telling me that when I've shared my link to the show, when you click on it, nothing happens. You have to actually come to my Facebook feed. So I'm being shadow banned big time. But yeah, I hope that you guys got here by coming to my Facebook and just finding it there. So I'm going to do my ad, and then I'm going to bring on one of the most awesome guys ever. What is the body's most important nutrient? By volume, the average body is 62% hydrogen, 24% oxygen, 12% carbon, and 2% everything else. Health science has concentrated on minerals and vitamins, but those are part of only 2%. When considering proteins and carbs, they miss the importance of hydrogen, how we normally get it, and its role in your body. Hydrogen is the building block of life, and it's involved in virtually every chemical process in your body. Without sufficient hydrogen, the body starts shutting down systems that aren't immediately life-threatening. To preserve hydrogen and life, first, the regeneration system shut down. You age quicker and heal slowly. Then the immune system shut down. You get sick easier. And finally, organs start to fail. Science is proving that chronic lack of hydrogen causes or exacerbates nearly every ailment known to man. How do we normally get our hydrogen? Why are we missing hydrogen? It has to do with the way that they're farming our food. What is the best way to get hydrogen back into your body? What is Brown's gas? Learn more at eagle-research.life. Don't forget the hyphen. If you do decide to buy the AquaCure AC50, put Liberty spelled normally in the discount code box for 20% off the retail price. I love mine, use it every day. My muscles are way less sore, and it's a money-back guarantee for a year. So, like I said, I love it. Thank you, George, for supporting this show from Brown's Gas. Okay, we're going to play a tape for you guys.
You didn't give me a lot of time there.
Oh, well, you know how long the ad is, honey.
Yeah, no,
My husband's out of practice. He forgot the ad was that short. That's not a short ad.
I was hoping you'd fill in some space.
Oh, he's used to me talking more. All right.
All right.
So in this report, it says the goal of this module was to provide members with current information related to COVID-19 and the workplace. So I just want to help corporate risk management to make it easier to assess the risk of Toronto police officers contracting the ever-scary Delta variant. So I've provided a link from the Public Health of England, if you're looking at the screenshot in my written presentation, who have found that the variant before the Delta variant, which was the Alpha variant, has a case fatality rate of 1.9%. Now remember that SARS had a fatality rate of 10%. They also know that this Delta variant has a case fatality rate of 0.1%. Now remember, it's Dr. Davila who keeps saying that the UK is the jurisdiction she uses most as a comparable to us here. So not only did the Public Health of England find out this previous variant to the Delta variant, the Alpha variant, is like, 19,000 times more fatal than the Delta. They're also implying that if the Delta variant has a case fatality rate of 0.1%, that means for those who end up contracting it, that the Delta variant also comes with a 99.9% survival rate. Think about that. That's why we couldn't all meet as usual at police headquarters today for this meeting, because these quack medical officers of health are concealing from us that this Delta has a 99.9% survival rate. But you still have to wear your mask out of fear of being hurt by the police if they get called on you because you weren't wearing it indoors. There's still restrictions on gatherings indoors, which won't be completely lifted until you give in to getting a vaccine. Not to mention the growing call to enter us into the beginning of 1930s Germany with show us your papers, please, vaccine passports in order to move around society, all because our lying medical officers of health are not telling us this Delta variant has a 99% survival rate. 99.9%. It is beyond staggering to think of the fraud that is being pulled over on all of us, and which will continue to be pulled over on all of us, because those like Mayor Tory will continue to enable it even after being presented with this evidence. And if he does not, and if he does, then I at least expect him to resign from this board, if not as mayor. So also, I present the screenshot of what Public Health of England in my written presentation had to say on that. So in this report, it also says, March 17th, 2020, Premier Doug Ford declared a state of emergency for Ontario. The provincial lockdown was quickly followed by Toronto Mayor John Tory declaring a local state of emergency on March 23rd, 2020. So in my written presentation, I provide the YouTube link where at the beginning of all this, Minister Haidu and Minister Freeland mentioned that Canada, after SARS, already had in place a pandemic plan that was co-authored by Dr. Theresa Tam on how to respond to the next one, that being this COVID. I just want to point out a few things that were mentioned, recommended on what not to do, as maybe it can be corporate risk management at the TPS who will be the ones to finally recommend following the actual health guidelines. I want to mention on page 227, this pandemic plan mentioned that there is no evidence that the use of masks in general public settings will be protective when the virus is circulating widely in the community. So some things that the pandemic plan mentioned on what not to do. Thermal scanning in public places, that was not recommended. Increased frequency of cleaning of surfaces in public settings, not recommended. Implement hand sanitizing stations in public settings, not recommended. Actively restrict travel to and from affected areas, not recommended. Use of masks by well individuals, not recommended. Dr. DeVille still ignored that. And broad restrictions on indoor public gatherings, not recommended. Not only are we doing that, we have a unit at the Toronto Police Service that goes around breaking up that stuff, even though it was not recommended. And that's my time.
Thank you, Derek. Any questions?
Hallelujah for the honest police officers. Hallelujah. I wore this shirt today in honor of Police on Guard. It was a present from one of the members, Bert. Come on out, Chris VandenBos.
Great to be here, Odessa. Thank you so much for having me.
So what do you think of that tape?
Ooh, it's pretty hard hitting, isn't it?
Guys, that was not Chris on the tape. That was another police officer. And that was Mayor Tory, who that was on there, along with, you said it's a board of something. Do you know who was on there?
Yeah, it looks like it's the Toronto Police Services board meeting, is my understanding, and John Tory's a part of that, Mayor John Tory, as well as high-ranking members of Toronto Police. And people bring their deputations to the board meeting to address their concerns and ask questions of the board. And here's what I got out of that. At the end of it, for those that have watched it, they'll know what I'm talking about. For those that haven't, give it a watch and take a look. Why is it that at the end of that 5-minute deputation, where some hard-hitting statistics are brought, and if those are factual statistics, should they not be addressed and spoken to? Should they not have that dialogue? After he made his deputation, he was shut right down, and no further acknowledgement was given. Does that sound like transparency to anybody else? To me, it doesn't.
Yeah, they just don't acknowledge it and move on. And our next question, I'm just glad that he got to say that. And I'm so glad this tape's floating around. It just gives me a little bit of hope. But anyways, yeah, like when I was as happy to see that as I was when you guys first, now let me tell everyone, you are an active constable in York Region. You are also the co-founder of Police on Guard for the thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
You know, I've said it before in other interviews, and I think it's important to say as often as I can, because it's something that we sometimes forget. You know, like if you come from a family where you have loved ones that have fought in previous wars and have made the ultimate sacrifice or lost loved ones and you know, fellow soldiers fighting for freedom, like Canada went across the pond to go help out with World War II because they saw the atrocities that were happening, right? Mm-hmm. it would, and in order for evil to succeed, all it takes is for good men and women to stand by and do nothing. And when I saw the way this was unfolding and the way that our oath was basically just being completely ignored and the charter was being ignored, it just did not sit well with me. In fact, that's just putting it politely. It really angered me, because the job of an officer is to be out there protecting and serving the public. And the charter is the roadmap on how you go about doing that effectively. It gives you the stipulations on what it is you can and cannot do when you're fulfilling those duties. And, you know, I mean, I this is just one thing that I wanted to bring up and ask the viewers and listeners out there. You know, I'm just going to go over it. Like, over these last 18 months, we've seen mass censorship. And I'm going to speak about censorship first. Is it not in the public interest to know that for the first time in Canadian history, police officers are taking their government to court? Should that not make mainstream news, to make the Canadian public aware that this is happening? Because there are pillars within the policing community saying, we don't agree with this, and we are taking a stand. Now, in any other world, that would be on the 6 o'clock news or in the newspapers. Now, I'll give credit to the Toronto Star and Joe Warmington. He was first to line up and do an article on us and put the Twitter feeds out there of me making addresses, as well as Rocco and Julie Evans, who's also was on the media release. But, you know, we're represented by Rocco Galletti, who's also a big name. Like, he's a heavy hitter. This is not somebody who has a limited background in law. Like, he has decades and decades of experience. And he said on one of the interviews that he felt it was his duty to represent this case. So the fact that that's being censored, and then you go down the list and you see doctors being silenced, you know, as far as I know, the way and I'm not a scientist, I'm not going to speak at a school, but my understanding is with science is that you have one side that brings forward their theory or their findings, and they talk about it. And then the other side, if they have different findings, they compare and they continue their research until they can boil it down to what it actually is. Well, in this particular case, in doing interviews with doctors and having them reach out to us, we're finding out that they're being threatened by their colleges and being told to shut up.
Oh,
and
yeah. And I forgot, Chris, I forgot to tell you something. On this show, we have to call them face diapers and jabba jabba. Okay. If we go there, I know you're not here to be a doctor, but I totally forgot to tell you, or I'm gone. So, again, I'm gone.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to speak to the science, as I said, but what I am going to speak to is what the Reopening Ontario Act says. And under General Compliance Section 2 sub 4 sub G, it says that if you have a medical exemption for wearing a mask, 1, you don't need to prove it. And 2, that you can't be asked to prove it. You know, and that's right in the actual document, the Reopening Ontario Act, right? So, you know, when you go down the list of all the things that are happening, I mean, I got many more. You know, the suicide rates on the rise and the increase, as well as substance abuse soaring through the roof. You have arresting of peaceful gatherers, and I was very clear to make sure that I called it that, because I have seen these gatherings of people and seen the pictures and videos being sent to me. And these are people with smiles on their faces, with their families with them, going outside saying, we believe in our freedoms and we believe in the Constitution and we believe in the Charter. They're not breaking windows. They're not flipping cars like a certain hockey team just made the Stanley Cup.
They're not Antifa burning down Black people's businesses are getting burnt down by Antifa. But anyways, keep going.
It's just, you see the list, right? You see kids getting, you know, I had to write them all down so I didn't forget, because it's important for people listening to be reminded of this, of what's happened over the last 18 months. You know, you get kids getting arrested for skating on the ice, which I mentioned in my last interview with Norb. You get a 12-year-old. Oh, it's crazy. And you get a 12-year-old boy who's on his scooter and gets thrown off his scooter by a police officer in a park. And it's like, what officer? I mean, I'm not trying to castigate anyone. I know people have bad days and people make mistakes, and I'm certainly empathetic to that. But when you see it as a part of a grand trend over the last 18 months, and you see pastors being arrested for going out of their way to feed their communities that are impoverished due to the lockdowns and the closure of businesses and the lack of resources available to people, and pastors, as their duty, and regardless of what faith you come from, a lot of them do this, and they go out in their communities and they try to nurture their communities, feed their communities, give any assistance they can through the church to these communities, and they're getting arrested. They're getting held in jail for offenses that don't even hold any jail time. How does this make sense? And the question I'm asking Canadians is, are we okay with this? This is Canada. This is a free democratic society. This is a foundational society built on the Constitution and the Charter, where the police largely are looked up to because they put themselves in the line of fire to protect the greater good. And then all of a sudden, within the last 18 months, the greater good is thrown out the window seemingly, and good people are getting arrested for just being human. And that didn't sit well with me. Still doesn't sit well with me. And that's why I'm so happy that this has ballooned. Like, Police on Guard has ballooned exponentially. We have people signing up all the time. We have people engaging in any way they can to further our message. And our message is simple. It's not extreme. And if anything, it's about as common sense as you can find in a message for a movement. And that's to restore the rights of the people by having the courts mandate or give a decision on whether or not our oath stands and we should be doing this.
Right. So you guys have filed a case. I know you can't say too much. Now I know Rocco's doing it. And I know Rocco's been having some great success going in and out of court for some doctors. I won't say anything more, but he's having some great success. So you guys are kind of next on the list. I mean, everyone wants them. And what is it that so tell me, you don't have to read out the whole statement of claim, but what is it that you guys have taken the government of Canada to court for?
Well, to sum it up, it's exactly what I said. Just that was more, with a lot less legal jargon. It basically comes down to, we took an oath. That oath is to the Queen, the Constitution, and the Charter. And certain facets of our duties have been handed down to us and mandated to us to enforce. And that is the Reopening Ontario Act and the emergency measures therein. And we want direction because we feel that they are in contravention of the oath we took. Because as the last interview I did with Norb, I read through all of the pertinent parts of the Charter as it pertains to the last 18 months. And, if you look through it, I mean, we talk about peaceful assembly, we talk about religious freedom and expression, we talk about the right to gain a livelihood, the right to travel from province to province, the right to mobility. I mean, there's so many facets within the Charter that are not being recognized and respected. And that's what we're seeking clarification on, because if we're going to be the tip of the spear, then we need to know, just like with G20, just following orders is not a good enough excuse. We know that. There's case law that says that proves that. We know this. It's fresh enough in our minds because it's within the last 10 years that G20 occurred, or 10, 12 years. And you're going to be potentially personally held liable for efficating these mandates in your duties and enforcing them in the name of saying that you're following orders. That's not a justifiable excuse. You remember your oath, and if you don't, you need to get back in tune with what it says. Read the Constitution, read the Charter, because that's what your oath is to, and make sure that you are enforcing your job properly. You're holding your job and your duties properly. Mm-hmm. And the fact that these mandates have come down, we're seeking the clarification from the court in respect to that.
Mm-hmm. So I know that, I've been told, because I have friends in the force and in the military, they're more friends of friends, but that it's kind of like society. 50% of the force is pretty awake to the statistics and starting to go, what's going on here? And the other 50 are drinking the Kool-Aid. What do you think the stats are? I have two questions. You can answer that one. What do you think the statistics are with how police in Ontario are feeling, or even across Canada, in ways of should they be doing this or shouldn't they? And then my other question was, how do you guys promote your movement to on-duty police? But first, the first one, how many people do you really think are awake in the police forces to the true statistics?
That's a tough one to answer because, everyone kind of lives in their own little circles, right? And within my circles, I have people from every political allegiance and background and, cultural background that are on the job. And I keep in touch with quite a few of them. And in my circles, it's overwhelmingly high. It's almost a 90% majority in a sense. And I can say that from the outreach that we're getting, from the amount of people that are showing support, the amount of people that are wanting to join on, I mean, it's in the thousands and thousands. It's incredible the support that we're getting. It's overwhelming, actually. It's really heartwarming to know that other officers are seeing it. A lot of officers might be a little bit more hesitant to take the stance publicly like I have. Mm-hmm. But you know what? They're just as much in agreement with the fact that they don't think they should be going out on a Sunday afternoon to go and arrest people for having dinner together as a family during the heart of this thing over these last 18 months. Like, seriously? And then, you see, like I mentioned, that 12-year-old boy. I have a 12-year-old son. And I'm thinking, my 12-year-old son rides a scooter. And if he's riding a scooter through the school and an officer says you should be in your house because there's a stay-at-home order, could that be the end result for him? So it makes you concerned, not just as an officer, but as a parent, as a human being. Like I said before, this is Canada. Is Canada as a whole? We all come from different backgrounds, but we all should respect each other. We all should appreciate each other. And when we see the rights being removed arbitrarily of one Canadian, and there's no recourse, and there's no there's no accountability, that is the same as if it was to happen to you or somebody in your family or circle. If it happens once, it can happen again, and it has. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure, as a Canadian culture and society, we know our rights, and we make a firm stand for them, and we speak up for them. Because if we don't, I don't know where this will lead. And I certainly am not going to sit idly by and not do something about it in the interim. So that's why we're moving forward with this. And Rocco is, Rocco, for those of you who don't know, because we've only really prefaced by saying Rocco, it's Rocco Glady from the Constitutional Rights Center, and he is an absolute gem of a lawyer. And if you see the work he's done through his career, he's been very successful in fighting for constitutional rights and freedoms. He's taking on other cases as well. And, if I were to ever say that I had 100% confidence in a lawyer representing this case, it's Rocco Glady. And the interesting thing is, this is a bit of inside. I remember when I was sitting on the couch talking about everything that was happening with my family, and I had seen some news articles, not on the mainstream, of course, about Rocco. And I had heard of Rocco through my career. I knew of him quite well and the body of work that he had been a part of and spearheaded, actually. And I said to my family, I said, this would be amazing if we could somehow get this guy to represent a case for the police, and that was just like in the back of my mind, and then talking about it a little bit with my family. Well, when we started Police on Guard in December of 2020, and the ball started rolling and people started joining on, we didn't even have to reach out to Rocco. Rocco reached out to us and said, I believe that we need to work together and I want to represent you. He offered his services pro bono, and he has been unbelievable. And
he is very, very hard to get pro bono. And a lot of people think, oh, Rocco should just do all his cases for free. He has to hire lawyers and experts, and he doesn't work for free, and neither do I, quite frankly.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a good point now to mention that he has to keep the lights on. Right? He's representing some of the biggest cases in Canadian history right now as we speak, and he has to keep the lights on. So if you feel passionately about this, like I do, and like we do with Police on Guard, and I know you do, Odessa, and all the other, freedom fighters that are speaking up and taking a stand, go to his website, the Constitutional Rights Center. You can donate to the different actions that he's representing. If you want to donate to the police action, it's right on there. Click on it. It links you to how to contribute. And that'll just help serve us in keeping not only the lights on, but also, keeping his lawyers, working hard and engaged, which they're working really, really hard. I've been in his office. They are some of the hardest working people I've seen. It's incredible. So
yeah, there's some people that think that somehow Rocco cuts himself into 100 pieces and serves everybody at once for free. Anyway, we don't need to go there. I fundraised for Tanya Goff for Action for Canada for her case. And she's like 94% of the way there. It's just amazing. And it's just crazy what's going on. It is absolutely crazy. So do you guys do you guys ever kind of cold call, precincts or whatever you guys call them, and say, hey, we want you guys to learn about us. Come check out Police on Guard on Facebook. Like, do you cold call people, or is it word of mouth, or?
It's every possible way we can get the message out there. We have merchandise that's going up live for sale this week, and that's going to continue to help with our messaging and our marketing and getting our name out there. We have billboards going up around the GTA coming up as well.
I didn't know if I could bring that up.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing to bring up, because people are going to be seeing us advertised, and getting the message out there. And we also have so many officers attending rallies, and we have people within our group. And this is the cool thing. This is the community piece about when you have a group of like-minded people wanting to do the right thing. People will extend themselves and do what they can to help in any way they can. And we have people, literally one of the guys that's working with us, a retired member who's assisting us, he gets on his motorcycle and he goes from town to town to town, dropping off the Druthers article that had us on the front page, dropping off business cards, engaging people in conversation, letting them know about what their rights are, letting them know what we are doing to try to fight to get them back and to get some assertion from the courts. And that's just one example of hundreds and hundreds in our active chat group. And that's not even including the thousands that are in support of us by putting their placards in the window and speaking to their neighbors and going out and engaging the members of their communities. This is growing exponentially, and thankfully so.
I got my t-shirt.
Looks good. Looks good.
I know, I wore it just for you. Before I forget, what is the name of your Facebook page so everybody can go follow you?
Police on Guard. If you go into Police on Guard, the website itself that has all of the links that you can click to get to our social media feeds. And from there, it'll connect you so you can see the content that we're releasing and the updates and stuff like that. You'll see on there that we have the open letters and how to become a member for those officers. And that's the biggest thing I want to get across today. I feel a little bit remiss because I didn't mention it as loudly as I should have last time. If you are an officer and you feel that your oath is being disregarded and you don't agree with what has happened over the last 18 months and you want to be a part of a change to make this better, to fight for what that oath means and for the rights of your fellow Canadians, go on our website, join us. And for those of you that are not officers or military or firefighters and whatnot, if you still want to support us, there are so many ways you can support us. Like I said, the window placards, put them in your windows. Go on our website. If you want to buy merch, it's all going towards helping out in the community. It's all going out towards messaging to increase this movement, to help it grow so that we can win this. And I just
want to mention your merch is available starting tomorrow, is it?
Tomorrow, Tuesday at the latest is what I heard in terms of that. But certainly this week it will be up and it'll be linked. And we have everything from challenge coins for police and military. They'll know what those are. And we have some specially designed ones that are really sharp. Actually, I can't wait to get one of my own. And clothing lines. We have clothing lines with our logos and all of our, decals and everything on it so that when you're out in public, if you're going to a rally or you're just going to the grocery store, you can put it on and it lets people know that you stand for your rights and that you stand with Police on Guard because we're standing for you and we will continue to stand for the people.
Yeah, you're risking a lot by doing this. And I don't want to forget. So my friend Alicia and Danielle are putting on Worldwide Rally 4.0. And you are going to be speaking at it in Vancouver, September 18th.
That's correct. Yep.
Well, you have to come to our house. You got to come to our house. We have to have a party. I'd
be honored. Absolutely. That sounds great. I've never been out there.
Really?
It's been on our family's bucket list. So I made a promise to my wife when I booked the ticket to go out to speak in September. I said, well, you know what? We're going to have to make sure we book another few tickets for after that for the whole family to get out that way too. Because I would love for them to meet you guys and vice versa and to spend some time with you guys out there.
Yeah, we want to thank Bert for hooking it up in Vancouver.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bert.
Yeah. And he gave me this shirt too. Okay. So is there military and firefighters in there too? Yeah.
Yep. We have active and retired police, military, firefighters. We have sheriffs. We have paramedics. We have so many people that have come forward that are in the public service industry working for the government that want to support in any way they can, and they disagree with what's happening. So they just want to be a part of the right movement. And as somebody has said to me early on, and it seems to be echoed all the time now, is we're doing this and we're on the right side of history. And that's the important message to take away from that, is that this is the right side of history. Standing for the rights of the people and standing for your own rights is important. We have to do that together as a collective. That's how we make a change. That's how we get it back.
How do you feel? I'm not asking you about the science or anything, but how do you personally feel about how private business and schools are trying to mandate the jabba jabba? How does that make you feel?
Well, there's informed consent and there's also medical privacy. I'm not a scientist and I don't know all the intricacies of, the jabba jabba and all the other facets therein. But what I can say is that all through my life, I had the choice on what medical procedure or jabba jabba I wanted to take. And, and I'm not an anti jabba jabba in in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, when it comes down to, if you have concerns, if you have any apprehensions about taking something, that's your right. And somebody else does not have the right to, one, ask you about your personal medical information. It's not their right to know that. That's why they have a lot of confidentiality surrounding medical laws for that reason, because it's your private medical information, right? And that's the bottom line. It's not anybody else's, based on law, based on the charter, based on the Constitution, based on medical law, based on all of it. You have the right to informed consent. And that brings me back to the censorship. You know, when doctors who have concerns are speaking out, and they have on your platform as well as mine and all other platforms actually that isn't mainstream, they're getting silenced and they're getting taken to task and being told that they're going to be delicensed by their colleges. Like, this is firsthand. I'm not speaking out of school. I can say firsthand from that conversation. That's what Dr. Stephen Malthouse said in the interview I did with him last week or 2 weeks ago. And
many more besides Malthouse. He was just the first one, he and Kulvinder Gill, to go, what the heck, right? And now, thank God, there's so many more. But the censorship, and I don't think that I talked to, is it called the frontline nurses? Oh gosh, Alicia, help, Danielle, help. It's the frontline nurses, right? That I'm friends with. There's so many names in my head, Chris. I don't want to mix them up. They said literally they will tell you your license is going to be pulled, and now they're all going to court. And one good news that they said is happening is, before they would just say, we're going to pull your license, and you're on probation, and then you have to go to court, or you have to go to the college or something. She said now they're not bothering to say that to nurses anymore because they know they can't. So she said things are getting a little bit better for nurses instead of worse when they speak out. They're just the whole, I think it's injunction. I can't remember what it was called, but two of the nurses, they were the first ones, and they have to be gone into court, dragged into court. But the newer nurses, they're not even bothered dragging them into court anymore. They know they can't take away their license. They can just do some other thing. I think they're fired from the job at that hospital, but they don't lose their license.
Okay.
I mean, it's better.
I guess it's better. Again, it brings me back to the question I ask of all the viewers and all the listeners. Does this seem acceptable to you? As a society, a democratic, free society that is built on the principles of law and that has a constitution and a charter. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to say it in every interview, any chance I get. It's important. This is the most important thing we need to remember. We have those in place for a reason. Do we think as a people, as humans living in Canada that have these documents to protect us, do we think that these mandates and these enforcement measures and these coercive tactics fall in line with the rule of law, the Constitution, and the Charter? Do we honestly believe that? If we do, then I guess I missed something. I must have missed the memo on that one. But I certainly don't feel that that is indicative of a free and democratic society when that is happening on Canadian soil.
Yeah, we're all in shock. Have you guys put your heads together as policemen and women and said, is there something bigger going on here? Because everyone at the top is acting crazy, meaning top of the Canadian food chain, not the world food chain. But I know you don't want to, but are you guys wondering if something bigger is going on? I mean, you don't have to say you are just because I asked that.
Well, you can ask me anything. Whether I can answer it or not is a different story, and I'll tell you if I can't. But, do I have suspicions? Do I have curiosities? Have I seen information that's concerning? And have I read things and heard things from doctors that are highly credible with a really long and influential career in medicine that are speaking out and it's contrary to the mainstream narrative? Yeah, you know what? It raises suspicions in me. But here's the thing. The truth always gets found out in the end. It always gets found out in the end. And when the people start to wake up to what the realities are and they start demanding answers because of that truth, that's when things start to change. And that's why we're doing what we can to advocate a change as peacefully as we can. Like, we are peace officers, right? So our job is to keep the peace. And by doing this, we have been very strict in our messaging, not just in terms of who we're speaking with on these interviews, but even internally. We make sure that we hammer down to everyone that's internal that we're not going down the road of talking about violence. We're not going down the road of talking about, extreme measures. That is not who we are. We are peace officers. We took an oath to keep the peace. And we also took the oath to the Constitution and the Charter. And we'll stand for all of those things. So we're trying to get a peaceful resolution to this. And again, the ace in the hand there is having Rocco in the Constitutional Rights Center, because like I said, I wouldn't want to be in his opposition.
Oh, I know. I mean, he has airtight cases built. Airtight. Well, did you know that in Vancouver, the first time that little Miss Bonnie Henry, who's our health officer in BC, so it's like your Davila, I think. Is that your health officer in Toronto?
Yes.
Anyway, Devil. Anyway, our little Miss Bonnie, the Justice Center, who also does cases, tried to drag her butt into court here in Vancouver, and she didn't show up. She didn't bring any science. The Justice Center brought a little bit. Instead, I think it was the Attorney General that went, and they didn't even try to win the case based on science. They didn't bring any. It was all kind of like, well, we didn't know at the time. We're doing our best. And so once again, they have not come out with any science in any of the cases yet. And they've been dragged in a few times. Was it Alberta or was it, where did that doctor come out and say, yeah, was it Alberta? There was a court case in one of the provinces, and the government hired an expert to come in. And when they interviewed him, or what's the word when you're in a court? You know, what's the word when they're cross-checking?
Cross-examining.
Cross-examining. When they're cross-examining him, their expert said, oh, yeah, the rod up the nose. Oh, that's a piece of junk. We shouldn't be using it. Manitoba. That's who they brought as their expert, because he did not want to lie on the stand, because why should he go down for this? So that's how well they did when they brought an expert. He said it's a piece of junk and shouldn't be used. So they're just dying in court, but they're getting everybody on stupid technicalities. Like, what do you think about the Adamson barbecue case? Do you know much about that?
I do. Oh yeah, I do know about the Adamson barbecue case. I remember seeing the videos of, mounted police officers doing, in essence, riot patrol or whatever it was for the patrons that just wanted to support his establishment. And he has the right to gain a livelihood. I thought, but apparently didn't apply that day. I don't know. But it's not my place. Like, sometimes I can be inclined to speak out of school. So I got to be careful to not lead with emotion, because that stuff does get me emotional. Like, I think about my father. My father immigrated to Canada. We were a single income home with 4 kids, and he worked his butt off. I've watched the guy as a carpenter put nails through his fingers, bite the nail, rip it out, spit it on the ground, wrap it in duct tape, and keep going, because he had mouths to feed and there was only one income. And if he wasn't working, we weren't getting paid. Now, I want you to imagine if that was still a situation for our family and we were all still young and he's still the single breadwinner in our home, and COVID hit and he can't feed families. And that's not an unrealistic scenario, because the reality is I've mentioned it because it really gets me fired up. When I drive through small towns, and I drive through small towns in Southern Ontario all the time. I love small town Southern Ontario. I love the people. They're so engaging. They're just so kind and friendly. They always get a wave. You always get a smile, and you walk through and you see all these businesses that you normally frequent, and they got plywood over the windows. Mm-hmm. And these people sunk all of their investments. They put everything they had into starting a business just because they wanted to do it, and they wanted to bring up their town and bring whatever goods and services they can to their communities. And they lose it all. They lose it all. Big box stores are still open, but they lose it all. And the plywood's over their windows, and you can only imagine what that does. Imagine, to me, it brings me back to my father. I start to think about my father. What would that have done to him if the government said, you're willing to work, you're able to work, you have jobs lined up, you have people needing work done, but we're not going to let you? What does it do to a family? Think
over a 99.9% survival rate. And as that policeman on the tape said, our mayors and premiers and health authority are going exactly against what was recommended for humanity.
So
I don't know how long are they going to get away with this?
I don't know. If I had a crystal ball, or I had that ability to see in the future, I'd be happy to give you that answer, because a lot of people want to know the answer to that, and we're all hoping that it's really, really soon. But the important thing that we need to also remind ourselves of is this, is just because they might potentially start lifting things going forward, if they do, it doesn't negate the fact that they have already done what they've done over the last 18 months. And just like G20, there was answers that need to be given in response to it, and not just shutting it off after the 5-minute deputation and turning a blind eye and saying next question. It's important that we, as a people who elect our members of parliament, provincial parliament, they are representatives of us. Our voices are what is important. That's what steers their direction, or should. And if it doesn't, and it no longer does, if that's the case, then we need to start being more vocal about that and demanding that they do, because that is their job.
I know for a fact that the MLAs and MPs are on a gag order now. If they say one thing against the narrative, they're tossed. They're tossed. I mean, Derek Sloan got tossed in reality as an MP from the Conservative Party, but because he said, my constituents are freaking out. Here's their petition. They don't want forced jabba jabbas. We need to talk about this. He was gone a few weeks after, and they said it for some dumb thing. But he was speaking up, speaking the truth. He was gone, and they literally shame you on the news if you're an MLA or MP or politician. If you say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. I mean, they're on a gag order. They are on a gag order, or they're tossed. So our doctors are on gag orders. Our politicians are on gag orders. If you're a teacher that speaks out, you're gone. It's insanity. Nurses, what the hell?
It's alarming, isn't it? It's alarming to me. I mean, it's alarming to the people that I speak with every day, the ones that I love and I'm close with. It's alarming to them. I have a feeling, and this is a deep gut feeling, and I don't think I'm very far off. I have a feeling that a lot more people feel the same way as us about this. It's just that they're not being as vocal for whatever reason, or they're being told that they can't, and they're worried about their livelihoods, or, reprisals, or whatever the case might be. But, at some point you have to make your voice heard. A saying that was always said that I stick to is, sometimes the loudest voices come from the cheapest seats. And we need well, we really have to make sure that we make our voices heard, because if there is something that is happening that we feel personally, one-on-one, whoever it is that feels this, if they feel that something is wrong, they should have the right in a democratic free nation to voice that concern and have it addressed, or at least spoken to or answered to, and in this case, it doesn't seem to be happening. So that's why we need to keep pressing forward, not lose hope. We cannot lose hope, because there are so many actions, like you've mentioned, not only being just represented by Rocco, but across the world. And it's important that we don't lose hope, and we just keep pushing forward, doing what we know to be right, and that is standing up for our rights, not just our rights, but our fellow Canadians' rights, all together as a collective.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to wear the hat, and I want to put that sticker up, because I want people to know that it exists. And I was just so ecstatic to have you on today. I should have had you on earlier. Nor grabbed you first for their show. But I really, really look forward to seeing you on September 18th. Guys, come down. It's at the Art Gallery, Worldwide Rally 4.0. Alicia and Danielle again are busting their butts. They never slow down. If you want to come and give Chris a hug, I've just set up hug booths for you.
Oh, I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. That's totally fine.
Oh my gosh. And I can't wait to introduce you to the VPD. I'm sure that Danielle and Alicia will do that. It's theirs. But, the VPD are awake for the most part. And I want to tell you that well before we knew about Police on Guard, through Liberty Network, through Liberty, and through other people, there's Tanya, there's Power Shift, there's so many places, Vaccine Choice Canada. A bunch of people did get together. There was about 2 groups across Canada, maybe 3 that did this. And we started writing as many, we call them cop shops, as we could with the science. People busted their butt. Sometimes the answer was, nothing I can do about this. But letters were written, emails. People tried to show up, but you couldn't go in because of COVID. But there's been thousands of letters written to police, what do you call them?
Detachments, divisions.
Detachments.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of American stuff, so it's like, what do we call it here? A lot of
Precinct.
Yeah, precincts. Detachments, a lot of them people have been writing to them for over a year. And so we're hoping that had a tiny effect. Mayors have been written with the science.
Well, it's important. And I feel like sometimes I'm beating a dead horse, just repeating this over and over again, but it's so important. It needs to be repeated over again. We are all Canadian. We are all human. We cannot be divided. A nation that is divided cannot stand. Like, it's important that we stand strong together. We don't look for reasons to castigate our neighbors and to hate them and vilify them. Whether you're pro-mask or you're anti-mask or you can't wear a mask or whatever, you're wherever you stand on whatever political issue, wherever you stand on anything, those are your personal held beliefs. You have the right to them. But the whole point is we should be respecting each other and have conversation. That's how we learn. That's how we start to understand where somebody else might be coming from and the reasons for their beliefs. And why is that being lost? I don't know, but we need to bring that back. And opportunities like this, Odessa, is a good platform to get those conversations started.
Okay, I have a real question here.
All right.
Why can't the police just go arrest these politicians like Doug Ford, DeVille? Why can't they band together and do that?
To be honest with you, I don't know the legal answer to that. I know that there's different legislated protections that are in place, and it falls under different purviews than I think just municipal police. I wouldn't even know where to start in answering that, and I don't want to speak out of school. So so I have to be very careful to protect the integrity of the court case. So in that respect, I'm not going to answer that because I just flat out don't know the answer to give you.
Everyone's just so ready for that. I know it's a dream novel, but those of us that have known what's going on for well over a year, we all have these dreams of the corrupt. We wake up one day, it's on TV, and all of them are arrested, and we're left alone. Anyways, no comment from you, please.
Well, I'll just say this. It's not a dream. There's lawyers that are going forward with these cases to bring the truth to light and to get clarification. And that's the most important thing that we can say in regards to that question, because without them doing this, we would all just be hoping that something happens. Well, this is actionable. This is happening. These cases are going before the courts, and we just have to support these cases. We have to keep ourselves well-versed in what's happening with these cases so we can spread the word to our neighbors, friends, family, on billboards, whatever. Let's get it out there.
Billboards. Bert said I can't say anything now, yet. Can you tell us what you guys are doing?
With the billboards?
Is it up? Just tell me.
It's not up yet, but it's a teaser, so we'll definitely keep everyone apprised once they're up, and we're expecting that to be relatively shortly. So
I
we're excited
can't
about
wait for pictures of that.
Me too. I'm going to take them.
Oh my gosh. You got to post those on your Facebook page, Police on Guard for Thee. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be the Facebook thread. Yes. And policeonguard.ca for the website. So we have all different social media platforms that you can just link from the website.
Have you guys gotten any doo-doo from Facebook yet?
Oh, shadow banning and all that other stuff. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Have you had any posts that they've made you guys take down and all that stuff too? I know you don't manage it, Wendy does.
I don't manage it. So I know that there has been issues with certain social media platforms and things getting rejected and shut down and shadow banning us and stuff like that. But to me, it's not important because it's only a facet of how we get the message out there. We're not beholden to that being the only opportunity we have to get the word out there. Like I instigate conversations with every person I can in regards to this. And the best way to do it is to do it in a diplomatic way with a smile and be courteous, be humble, be kind, but have the conversation, and once those conversations start happening, they spread. And that's how you start affecting that change. Social media is just a drive-through mechanism to make it quicker. There's other ways that we can do this, and we're not giving up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Chris, I hope they don't try not to lock us down again, but I hear that's the plan. Anyways, winter, we're all dreading it. But thank you so much for coming. And you know what? I wish somebody, because I've taken on too much, I wish somebody would send 3 or 4 of you guys across Canada, and we make it so that all the people that aren't awake want to come and see you guys talk in person because you're policemen. Man, that would be so cool. You know, people always want to listen to police, not just health authority. To have you guys fill some kind of auditorium across Canada would just be amazing.
Well, if that opportunity presents itself, we're going to take every opportunity we can to get this message to grow. And, you know, we're going to keep watering that seed and just watch it bloom because we need to. And it comes with work, but it's work worth doing, because if you don't put in the work, it's not going to grow. And this is so important, I feel, and we all feel with Police on Guard. And, you know, we're doing everything and anything we can. It's sometimes it's very exhausting.
Yeah.
You know, I have to give a big shout out to Wendy from Police on Guard, because the work she does behind the scenes, it's sometimes you'll check in on, you know, the Telegram to see who's online from the admin group. And she's always online because she's always working. She's tireless. And that type of work ethic is what helps us to grow to this point, and the contribution of everyone. And that's why we're where we are, and we're hoping to continue to grow. And if we can get to one of those auditoriums and people want to hear the message, we'll take up that opportunity.
Yeah, Wendy's awesome. Not only is everyone like, ask Wendy, she's your bouncer too. She's your email bouncer. Like, who is this? What's this about? She's been kind to me 9 out of 10 times. One time I sent her something. She's like, I'm like, all right. That's cool.
Well, that just might be in the interest of, you know, time management, because she is so busy. But again, this is important for me to say to everyone that's listening. You know, I bring up Wendy because there are so many people working with Police on Guard, putting in so many hours for our fellow Canadians. That's what it comes down to.
For free. And Wendy is an ex-cop.
Yep.
So I don't know if she wants to say much. Guys, they are starting to travel. You have expenses with probably airplane tickets, hotels, food. I think you guys are going to have a place to donate soon on your site. It's not up yet, but check it out. It's going to be not only the shop, but if you want to just make a donation, so 100% of it goes to them and not just the materials they're selling, we need this to grow. And, you know, I think this one's almost as important, if not as important, as the lawsuits. There's something about Police on Guard. If this thing can grow huge, the cabal's screwed.
And it would be nice if it grew into a worldwide movement. And in that regard, we do have people from Australia, from Denmark, from different places in Europe, from the United States. We have a former police chief from a U.S. jurisdiction. I'm not going to mention it, just in the interest of safeguarding his information. But we have a lot of high-ranking people that have served at the highest echelons within policing who agree 100% unequivocally with what we're doing. They are passionate. We are passionate. We are not giving up. We are pushing forward because it is important to push forward now. Not tomorrow. Don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today, because we've seen what happens when we do. We are standing strong. We are standing fast, and we are standing now, and we're doing everything we can to right this ship. And if we can get the support from Canadians, there's no stopping us.
Thank you so much, Chris. You're so inspiring. Please come back whenever you want if there's anything new you want to talk about. I'm just going to say, as I wrap up here, you can stay on, Chris. Again, guys, Worldwide Rally 4.0 at the Art Gallery. Don't have times yet. Chris is going to be one of the speakers. If you want to visit who's putting on that rally, you can also go to @freedomrally.world on Facebook. And I've also got them on my Facebook too, but whenever I show their stuff, it gets shadow banned. So you have to actually go to Odessa Orlewicz on Facebook and find it. Anyways, thank you so much, Norb, and I really, really appreciate it, right, hon? 2 times in a week.
Good to see you again, Norb. It's my pleasure, honestly. I appreciate the opportunity because we need to get this message out there. So thank you for hosting me. Yep. And I look forward to the opportunity to do it again and meeting you in person in September.
Okay, thanks so much. Thanks, guys. We're going to sign out too. Bye.